Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Today's Weather Tonight with Cloud Hudson. I am Cloud Hudson. Welcome to my nightly broadcast reviewing what's just happened with all of the weather. Once again, another disclaimer, just so you don't get confused and don't think that I'm claiming anything I'm not. I'm not a forecaster. I am a rearcaster. I am looking at the weather that just happened. I think what's missing from today's broadcast meteorology is some deep reflection. Let's reflect upon what actually happens. Um, So today, I've started with weather. I usually go bottom up or top down, but today we're starting right smack dab in the middle because we have a lot of weather to get to today. Um, Obviously, there's a big risk of flooding throughout much of the deep south and a big risk of both winter weather and severe fog hazards across much of the Midwest and the plains. Just again, this is where we're looking for flood watches, this deep dark green, and then we're at flood warnings when we get into these neon green lines. That indicates places where we're closer to water that would flood. And then we do have some active flash flood warnings here in the Arklatex region, here in southwestern Arkansas and on the Texas-Louisiana border. So that is even more severe than a flood watch or warning. That is, there is not just flooding, there's flash flooding warnings right here. And that is because we've got a lot of moisture coming into this area, and it is not in the form of frozen precipitation like we saw a couple weeks ago. We are currently getting massive amounts of liquid water, also known as rain, coming from the sky. And you do see over here in the Southwest, we do have some winter storm advisories and warnings going on. So that's interesting for those of you out here in the desert Southwest. The upper elevations, you can kind of see it's like a topographic risk of winter weather. This is up in the higher elevations. And we've also got some winter storm watches going on up here. Is that a watch or a winter weather advisory? Excuse me. Winter weather advisory up here for much of New York. Flash flooding warnings in the Buffalo area. That is because we just had all of that. That's what I've been talking about the past few days, of the risk of getting unseasonably warm precipitation on top of big amounts of snow on the ground that will melt the snow, and all of the water that's just been sitting there frozen is likely to melt and cause some flooding. They've also got rain advisories up here in the Ohio, West Virginia border, in South Bend, Indiana, and into south of Chicago and Illinois. So let's go ahead and look at the analysis. Let's look at our observations for our observed, let's look at observed precipitation. That will help us see what kind of a soaking we've got going on. So absolutely devastating amount of water, just liquid water dumped all across this Texas through Chicago region. And then we've also got significant flooding here in the San Diego area, in Southern California. Also continued lots of rain up in the Pacific Northwest. And let's look at the past 3 days. Past 72 hours accumulation. And we are getting up into the 4 or 5 inches of rain within 3 days amounts down here. We're getting a lot of upper elevation. They're still in winter. They even had winter storm warnings the other day. And let's look back out at 5 days at 168 hours, excuse me. Precipitation analysis. Oh no, don't click on pivotal weather. No, don't try to. Pivotal weather, I would like you to load faster. and not, maybe it would be better if I wasn't on like a free version, but yeah, okay. So 168-hour precipitation analysis in inches, that is into the 10 to 15 inches of precipitation. And this is where we got this is the same region of California where we saw the California Oregon border. This is where we saw the uh around a 3 or a 4 magnitude earthquake last night. And again, I make claims about the connection between significant flooding and heavy rapid precipitation events and earthquakes. However, there is some research out there that indicates that it could add to the load, the stress on different faults. So look at geological research for that. But I just find it interesting to note when we get, like, for instance, 15 inches of rain in a spot where then there is a earthquake. I would be looking even more for one down here in the Baja region, in the San Diego region. But I mean, let's not neglect how much water this is on top of a very frozen, formerly frozen United States. I'm hearing this very insignificant rain total, and it still seemed very wet with this warm up after the freezing temperatures. Let's go ahead and look at those temperatures observations. I like looking at analysis because I'm an analysizer. I'm an analyzer. I'm an analyst. Uh, and I'm analyzing for you guys. Look at that. Very, very, very significant warm up for much of the country that had been in this is the area of temperatures we had been seeing deep into the continental United States. We had been seeing those really polar, cold Canadian air masses down here. And now we've got this ridge working its way up into the United States and melting all the snow and also causing some freezing rain threats. We saw a lot of icing and freezing rain throughout much of this area, this Missouri, Illinois, really. Indiana kind of got spared a bit, but everywhere that they had those fog warnings, that is from that rapid warm up and all of the rain that's falling through a colder atmosphere aloft and going through warmer melting layers and then again hitting cold ground. Because remember, these are the air temperatures. That's not the surface temperatures. Remember that, like, your car is colder on a 60-degree day in the springtime than it is on a 60-degree day in the fall. That's that thermal mass thing that I've been harping on. It takes a lot longer for the actual objects of the earth to warm up than it does for the air to do so. So when we see a good soaking cold for a long time and then a quick warm up with a lot of precipitation, that's when we're getting into these risks of the rain melting the snow and also of getting freezing rain on top of snow. So, and that is kind of what we've been seeing, unfortunately. We've seen a lot of just look up videos. I'm not here to, like, put on disaster videos, but you can look them up for yourself. You can see what kind of chaos this has caused across much of the middle of the country. Now let's go over to our earthquakes, because that's what I mentioned already. We were talking about the flooding. Let's look at the connection that has with our earthquakes. I mean, connection, I'm not saying there's a connection. I'm just saying there are earthquakes and there's also floods. Let's take a look at, for the past day, past 24 hours. Latest available from yesterday. from Monday the 22nd to today, all magnitudes, all depths. And apply. And I've been using Earthscope because it's pretty easy, but it's not the fastest. And I want to turn on plates. Let's turn on the plate boundaries. Because our big story, even though I already mentioned the one in Northern California, our big story is the, in the Xinjiang province of China and Kyrgyzstan. I need to look up how to say it. I was supposed to do that before. Kyrgyzstan. I was right. Kyrgyzstan. In Kyrgyzstan, there was a long series of aftershocks last night after we had this massive 7.0 earthquake. There was a long series of 4 to 5 magnitude aftershocks, and that has not slowed down today. I was chatting live with somebody there last night who lives in Aksu, and it is very scary for them. People are standing out in the street all night long because remember, you might have heard that you're supposed to get under a table for an earthquake, but that is the advice for in the United States. In other countries that don't have the same type of building codes, or their building codes are more allow for more stone stack structures, you're supposed to actually get out of the house when there's an earthquake in places where there are more stone stack structures. So much of Europe and Asia learn earthquake preparedness to be go outside and go away from buildings. Get as far from buildings as you possibly can, because that's the bigger risk is buildings falling apart and falling on top of you. So people really, it's kind of, it has been described by people who live there as the situation in Turkey last spring, where there was the massive shallow 7.0, again, shallow 13 kilometers deep. That is shallow for a 7. It's kind of like that situation in Turkey where they're still feeling aftershocks that would otherwise be noted as their own significant earthquakes. So Kyrgyzstan and China are really struggling today. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And let's also not neglect the fact that we did have one off the coast of Turkey. We had several, I guess they've put it in Turkey, but I saw it pop up in Greece. I saw several pop up in Greece last night. There was also one that popped up in Austria that's not getting reported here. I bet that's just from Earthscope not reporting from all possible sources. We've got, let's see, that was yesterday. We had a 5.4 on the Carlsberg Ridge between the Horn of Africa and India here. We also had several significant earthquakes in Papua and Indonesia. In Indonesia, and what does this say? Wingapu, Indonesia. These are all very shallow mid-range 4s. Well, not very shallow, actually. They're pretty. They're still in the shallow category here, which is between 0 and 33 kilometers depth, but they're not as shallow as they were in Kyrgyzstan. And we had a 6.3 today. We had a 6.3 in Vanuatu Islands. In Tonga, we had a 4.2 that was pretty deep down, and we had several very deep quakes. Several a 4 to 5 range magnitude quakes at like 500 kilometers and lower. So that indicates some energy coming into or out of the plate. And with this, we also saw on the antipode, the opposite side of the world of Kyrgyzstan, we saw this 5.4 southeast of Easter Island. And then I would call it off the coast of Chile, because we had a lot of activity here in Chile yesterday as well. 5.3 at 10 kilometers depth. Again, we're seeing so many 5s and 4s at 10 kilometers deep that it's getting eerie at this point. Guatemala and yeah, that's all in Guatemala. We had some 4.5, 4.6s. We had a moderately deep 4.8 in Colombia. And this is the one I wanted to talk about with the flooding. I am not going to ignore Japan. Japan has also had some significant earthquake activity. We have we had a line of earthquakes going through Texas and into the New Madrid seismic zone of Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky border areas. This is the one that we saw last night in the midst of all this heavy flooding over there on the West Coast. It was 35 kilometers down. A magnitude 4.3 is what they're giving it. And that's significant because you see all these like dispersed 1s and 2s and under 0 magnitude. That is not typical, but like that's how a lot of energy moves through such a perforated plate, is through a lot of different places all at once. But when it gets focused into a place like right near the Juan de Fuca fracture, it can attenuate the energy into one location. And you see like the energy comes down from Alaska into California. And this is where I'm personally expecting more action, because there is that significant flooding happening, kind of throwing off. I really do think it weighs the surface down. And seeing a lot of flooding in San Diego right now. So I'm expecting more earthquake activity out of there. And then we saw a few quakes starting. I thought it was just the fracking and stuff, but this is looking like it's going straight through the country. So this is also indicating movement of momentum into the heart of the North American craton. And then it usually doesn't take a whole lot of stops here, but we could see, Kyrgyzstan is in the middle of a plate. It's not on a boundary. It's with all this energy pointing from California through Texas, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more activity through the Northeast here. We have had earthquakes here in Asheville area of North Carolina, but they're usually not that. I've never felt them. I've been here while we had them. I've never felt them, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more through the Appalachian mountain chain. Now let's go back over to Alaska. Has also been having a lot of activity recently, just constant rumbles, constant. Let's see, the biggest they've gotten was a 4.2 at 4.8 kilometers depth. That is extremely recent. That is like within the last hour recent. We had a 2 and a 4.2. So, like west of Fairbanks, I guess. Then we follow that out to the Aleutian Island chain, where there's the subduction zone, Mount Kamchatka, and then we come down here to Japan, where we've got a 5.1 at 35 kilometers depth. And wasn't this around 30 kilometers depth? Just over 30 kilometers depth in California. Again, still seeing movement at 10 kilometers deep in the 4.4, 4.6 region of the Noto Peninsula of Japan. That's kind of like, these are all subduction zones. So a lot of stuff happening right here. We've got another one out here, 5 at 104 kilometers deep north of the Mariana Islands. A lot of earthquake activity going on right now, and I don't see it coming to a stop anytime soon. So with that, let's take a look at our volcanic activity. Where we saw Indonesian earthquakes, we also are seeing, we're still seeing some volcanic activity in Sumatra, I believe. We are also seeing Suwanosejima in the southern island chain of Japan erupting actively. And then there's the ongoing quakes that are still in eruption phase on this map. Um, let's take a look. Let's, yeah, I believe Popo and what is it? Semeru, Merapi. One was the one that Lewotolo volcano is the one that those folks were the town was evacuated from. All right, I'm just gonna keep trucking along. Because guys, we got so much to get to today. Let's go ahead and jump to let's take a look at what's happening in Iceland right now. Currently, the update from Grindavik is that they are using a ground penetrating radar to map the fissures underneath the town. And there's some reports, I have no source on this, but I have seen some reports that they may have known about the geological instability in this region since at least 2021 when the Fire Godsfall volcano erupted. I don't like the look of these three happening right one after another. Looks like they're going down the line. Seeing more and more clusters of quakes happening at the same time, more vertical stacking of them all happening simultaneously. So I think that this is cranking itself up to be more eruption soon. But it's still extremely unsettled. Let's look at all of Iceland, earthquakes, all regions. Because again, that doesn't show up on my map. Yeah, look at this. They all go in a line, and this is exactly where the North American and Eurasian plates meet. This is the line going down to the Reykjanes Ridge. So I don't know what to tell you other than watch out. We are seeing an increase in earthquake activity again, but not like the exponential increase we would expect for an imminent eruption, but definitely still active and still thinking about doing stuff. So let's take a look at something that some people think is completely unrelated, but I think might have something to do with it. The sun. The sun is going crazy right now. Past 2 hours, we had a M2.66 X-ray flux class. Let's see. Let's see. I guess this is the last one we looked at yesterday. Since yesterday, there have been 12 coronal mass ejections. Let's take a look at the ones with a chance for the partial halos. There we go. Let's see. Another cactus observation. Let's see the difference images. Do we have it? Image not. Excuse me. I guess we can't look at that one. Let's try the other one. The sun's going so crazy they don't even want me to see it. Okay, let's take a look at our solar dashboard then. We are looking for aurora to happen today, tomorrow, all through the weekend, really. Solar proton flux is almost gone back down to normal. And yeah, we're getting back down to normal. Let's take a look at our solar activity. It just keeps going up. It just keeps going up. 75% chance of a M class flare, still at only a 10% chance of an X class flare, but we're solidly in the upper C range. Yeah, wow, look at this. yesterday I was like, man, this is quite the increase. And then today, look at all of this activity. This peak actually happened right around the same time that we saw the California earthquake pop up yesterday. And then we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 M class flares since then. I don't see this going down anytime soon. You. Let's see. We had 3559, 3561, 3559, and 3561 responsible for those M class flares. Let's take a look at the WSA Enlil models. This will show us when these coronal mass ejections are expected to get to us. Yeah, and that is the one that I was waiting to be modeled, the one that's very Earth directed. You can see this is like the north, south, or west to east, and this is north to south. You can see it's kind of, it's not exactly dead on to us, but this is pretty Earth direct. We're going to see, and it looks like they're expecting it to be in a negative phase when it hits the Earth, which means that we're expecting a lot of aurora. So let's go to Aurorasaurus and see if they've got any observations we can take a look at. Reporting auroras from the ground up. This is where we're likely to see aurora today. Most of Canada covered, all of Greenland and Iceland. Let's see. And again, this red line they have here is a view line of where you might be able to expect to see it. So folks in Northern Europe, in the British Isles, in Ireland, Scotland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, all of Iceland, you'll probably be able to see, and I mean, most of Canada, probably going to be able to see aurora tonight. So where do I have observations? No, it's not going to show it. This is where we're looking at possibility of aurora tonight. And that is a very large swath. That's not what I want. Let's go here. Wanted to go to, let's see if they've got any new ones on space weather. Any auroral observations? Oh no, I clicked on today's planets. Oh well, let's look at today's planets. Okay, so today we saw Venus ingress into Capricorn, basically just now. We are seeing Moon opposite Mars, and that is right next to Mercury. Now Venus is co-present, but not in that opposition anymore. And this is making a kite formation if we're counting the apogee point, which is the black moon Lilith. That for all y'all who don't know astrology out there, black moon Lilith, this little thing in Virgo, is how astrologers keep track of where the apogee point of the moon's orbit is. And apogee point is where the moon is the furthest away physically from the Earth in its orbit. And that also has its own orbit. Now we are in Aquarius season. This kite formation, again, was between the moon, Jupiter, Mars, and black moon Lilith. Now, we are seeing, what else is sticking out to me right here? The moon is square Chiron, which is an asteroid that a lot of people look at. Ceres is a more significant asteroid that isn't on the default planets map. But Chiron, you can look up the story of Chiron, the wounded healer archetype, bringing almost a T-square with this Mars, again, exalted Mars in Capricorn. Mars knows what it's doing in Capricorn. It is ready to do stuff. It doesn't rule Capricorn, but it performs very well there. So we can do martial things. We can do the thing right now. It might be opposed to what your body wants you to do, but we got the energy to do it. And for some reason, I am really finding that this is going to bring our attention to our weak points. This seems to me like we're going to really be able to narrow in on what our weaknesses are in actually getting shit done. And again, like the moon rules Capricorn or rules Cancer. So the moon is in a good position here if she wasn't being opposed by a very happy Mars in Capricorn. I think that the moon getting a little bit of help is getting a little help from Jupiter and Uranus, but that's not a stable form of help for the moon. That's a very growth oriented, and we all know that growth doesn't always feel good. Growth can be hard sometimes. So I'm seeing that come up. That's just what our planet's up to today. I wanted to take a look at the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Wanted to look at, can we get any video of this extremely chaotic sun right now? Yeah, this is 3561. That's the one responsible for 2 of those M-class flares. And this is 3559. That was responsible for the other M-class. And on the magnetogram, you can really see how strong this cluster is. What a cluster. Let's take a look at 193 angstroms. Beautiful. Yeah. Phew. There was that big filament launch yesterday, and then more activity. This is what gave us those M-class flares, and this one right here. This and this are the places that we got those M-class flares from, and I don't see a lot of stability anywhere else. It looks very unstable. This looks like a, I don't know, looks like a really angry soup. Big ball of angry soup. That's what we got going on. That's our star. Big hot ball of soup. Ion soup. There was that filament, the second one. There was that other one, and the M-class flares popping off from there. Let's take a look at 3561 and 3559 as we watch this one. Because they didn't have that big launch, which is the thing that is modeled to us, but they did show a lot of activity, a lot of flaring, like those really rapid, sparkly pops are the flares. That's what we're doing, C and M and X class flares. All of those sparkly pops. And it looks like this is rising up and about to launch. I mean, probably very soon. This might be even mid-launch. I don't know. Looks like it's really destabilizing itself. And since it's white, that means that we have activity at all 3 wavelengths that are being composited or compiled here together. Let's look at the other composite now. And again, seeing the holes doesn't make it better either, because that increases the wind speed, which pushes these launches through the interplanetary magnetic field. Really like a boiling pot of water. It looks like it's just going to boil off anytime now. Let's see. What did I talk about? Let's go to null Earth. Let's take a look at just what's going on through the atmosphere. And this is a little bit of a chaotic episode tonight, but I am doing my best to keep us on focus. Yeah, we see a lot of that tropical air coming in. Well, some tropical air coming into the Gulf of Mexico, into the Gulf region, but then also looking at a big large high of cold air over here in Canada, looking like it's warming up in Iceland, which is, you know, Interesting for them doing work there. We've got another storm brewing off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. And I want to see the jet stream levels so that we can see. Yeah, that's where we're seeing this really come into play. We're seeing a lot of moisture come from the Pacific. Remember, lower, we're getting Atlantic moisture, but really, as we go aloft, we're getting Pacific moisture. So let's do that. Let's go aloft. You can see the smaller eddies at the 850 level spinning there. Like it's really spin up and spin down, getting that ocean exchange. But then as we go to the 700 to 500 levels, then we start getting the global pattern being more influential than the ground surface pattern. And we're seeing that that tropics to mid latitudes transport. I mean, we're still seeing a bit of a trough over here in the western United States over the higher elevations. So it's not like they're getting melted, but it's not a great setup if we want to avoid flooding, because look at all of this. I mean, this is very, very, very high atmosphere now. Now we're getting into the part of the atmosphere where we're bordering on magnetosphere and ionosphere. And this is what is influencing where that aurora oval shows up, because this is the wind activity that that'll run into. Now, let me see while we've got this pulled up. Let's see. I haven't been able to find any Northern Lights reports, but I have been looking for them. Supposed to, I mean, all I'm seeing, let's see. Let me go to a secret tab so that you guys don't see me looking it up on stream. How are y'all, by the way? Is everyone enjoying themselves? I hope we're having a nice time. I see 5 of you here. Hello. Hi. I'm so happy to see you. Once again, if you're joining me on Facebook, I can't see Facebook profile comments from my streaming software, but I can see YouTube comments. So if you go follow me on Cloud Hudson at YouTube, you will be able to chat with me live. I'm really excited to see. I don't think I've seen 5 concurrent viewers yet, so that's beautiful. I really want to pull up some aurora pictures for you guys because I know they've got to be happening right now. Yeah, not seeing much. Well, oh, is this? No, I mean, I don't see much I can report, but if y'all follow me on YouTube, you will be able to see that in my community tab. I'll be placing all the aurora reports that I get in there. Again, thank you so much for coming to today's Weather Tonight. What we're looking at is lot of moisture over much of the United States, a lot of moisture in the form of liquid moisture. Some would call that rain. But there's also the fog situation. There's a significant fog warning going on through much of the Midwest, and there's a lot of flooding over in the West Coast and big flood risk throughout the Ohio River Valley. Really, if you saw blizzards if you were getting a blizzard this time last week, it's probably flooding right now. So let's go ahead, and I think that that's all I've got for you today on weather reports. I'm not going to go too in depth on it because I feel like we are going to have so much more to report tomorrow night that I'm just going to go ahead and start to close us out with if y'all don't know, I believe the weather goes all the way up and all the way down. It goes from the core of the Earth, goes from the magma layer all the way to the planets and beyond the planets in galactic sphere. That's weather goes all the way there. There's no discrete anything in nature, in my opinion. There's no discretion. Who would have guessed that I don't have any discretion? And I don't think the world does either. Okay. I'm going to... yeah. Oh, so I said that to say I do the card pulls at the end of this so that I can get messages from the cosmos, because we don't have sensors for beyond... There's only so far our physical sensors can go, and we have to find some subtler means to sense beyond what our physical observations can lend us. I do believe that spirituality is part of scientific observation, and any scientist who hasn't examined their soul hasn't calibrated their instrument correctly. Sorry, you haven't calibrated your instrument correctly if you don't understand why everybody's had such a significant experience in the spiritual plane. You're probably not being very scientific about their observations. Let's go ahead and... now this is probably the least materialist deck that you could possibly find. So this is me in the ethereal. This is the weather of the ether, not of material. Let's see what we've got. I think this one. Okay. Nope. Okay. I can always reach for a thought that feels better. I can always reach for a thought that feels better. And I love seeing the kind of moon, sun, and cloud here. You can reach the sky if you reach for it. Your decision to reach for a thought that feels good is a powerful decision, for it always serves you in many ways. The better feeling thought reverberates within you, opening passageways to well-being that reach far beyond this one good feeling thought. So, inducing resonance. Entrainment. For you meteorologists out there, this is weather entrainment. Enjoying ourselves. Be sure to like everyone. Thank you so much, Todd Reacts. I'm really glad to see somebody popping up in the chat here. Be sure to reach for the good feeling thought that you have, because that will lead you to central alignment. That's how you calibrate your instrument as a scientist, as a spiritual scientist. How you calibrate your instrument is finding your neutral place, and finding your neutral place is reaching for those thoughts of ease. That's the better way to interpret the world, rather than from a place of fear. And it is really hard to observe the weather not from a place of fear. A lot of fear pervades why we can sell meteorology. A lot of people have to use fear in order to get hired as a meteorologist, because people don't pay you to feel good. But that's what we're doing here on this channel. We're feeling good about the weather, and we're trying to realize that the weather goes all the way up and down. And now let's get something a little bit more. Let's go more in depth on this for card archetypes that will be able to resonate with y'all. Maybe you don't really know much about the deck that I pulled the first card from. Let's go ahead and get a traditional tarot card pulled for some of your clarification. We're looking for guidance from the part of the universe that we cannot observe with material means. Looking for interpretation from the parts of the cosmos that we can't reach with satellites. What does it mean that I can always reach for a better thought that feels better? All right. That means we've got the Page of Pentacles upright, the Eight of Pentacles upright, and the Six of Cups reversed. Again, this Six of Cups reversed is kind of sad, but not bad. It's just that realizing, in order to realize that you can reach for a better thought, you have to realize that your current thought isn't as good as it could be. But we are all working on it. I see all of us in this live stream tonight as this guy working really hard on his craft in the Eight of Pentacles. Like, he's got so many pentacles already made, and he's just working hard on them. And here comes the Page of Pentacles bearing in our new material reality. I see us all ushering in the new material reality with each other, co-creating a beautiful weather atmosphere. Hope is hard to have if you don't have faith. If you don't have faith that hope could be had. But when you have faith that hope is out there, you'll eventually find the hope. Just have hope that you could have hope. You know, that's a better thought. That's a better thought than feeling trapped. Always look for the helpers. Look for what's going to be a helpful thought and resonate with your highest and greatest good, being in alignment with yourself. I'm not saying I do it perfectly. I'm out here in practice with y'all. We're all practicing how to reach for better thoughts and better ways of being together. So that is pretty much all I've got for you guys tonight. Don't be a stranger. Be sure to like, subscribe. I don't even need to tell you all the buttons, but like, I would love to see y'all on my YouTube community page so that you can talk to each other. I do make a lot of posts in my community tab on my YouTube page. So go make some friends with each other there and uplift each other. Maybe in the comments, you like put a dream, share in the comments what thought feels better for you right now. That'll be helpful. Okay. I love you guys so much, eternally and always and deeply. Have a great night. Love you. Good night. See you tomorrow.